single birthday candle sticking out of the top. Emma stood there smiling proudly. I made it myself. I looked at my parents. They were trying very hard not to laugh. Apparently Emma had spent most of the afternoon creating everything. The pancakes were the only thing she could think of that looked remotely like a cake. Then came the presents. There were 3 of them. The first was a drawing of the 2 of us. The second was a coupon book she had made. Coupons included things like 1 free hug, 1 free joke, 1 time I clean your room. That last one was hilarious because she hated cleaning her own room. Then she handed me a tiny cardboard box. It was wrapped in newspaper and covered with tape. Lots of tape. An unreasonable amount of tape. It took several minutes to open. Inside was a small gray rock. Just a rock. I looked up. Emma was practically vibrating with excitement. Months earlier, we'd gone hiking at a local trail. At some point I had casually mentioned that I liked finding unusual rocks. I barely remembered saying it. Emma remembered. She told me she had spent weeks searching for the perfect one. Every day after school she checked the playground, sidewalks, parks, and anywhere else she could think of. Eventually she found that rock. She was convinced it was the coolest one in the world. I don't know why, but hearing that completely broke me. I started crying. Not dramatic sobbing. Just one of those moments where tears show up before you realize they're coming. Because suddenly I understood something. While my parents were worrying about what they couldn't afford, Emma never cared about money. She wasn't trying to buy me something. She was trying to make me happy, and she'd spent weeks doing it. An 8-year-old had paid attention to a random thing I said months earlier and turned it into the most thoughtful gift I'd ever received. We ate pancake cake together. We laughed at the decorations. We spent the evening playing board games. No expensive gifts. No fancy dinner. No huge party. And somehow it became my favorite birthday ever. Years passed. Life eventually got better. My dad found a new job. My parents recovered financially. Birthdays became normal again. There were actual cakes, actual presents, actual parties, but none of them ever felt quite as memorable. The rock stayed with me. At first it sat on my bedroom shelf. Then it moved to my college dorm. Then to my first apartment. Every time I packed my belongings, I made sure the rock came too. People occasionally noticed it. Roommates would ask why I kept a random rock on display. I'd just smile and say it was important. Most people assumed I was joking. I wasn't. About 10 years later, Emma came to visit my apartment. She was in college by then. Way taller than she used to be. Way smarter too. We spent the day catching up. At some point she wandered into my office while I was making coffee. A few seconds later I heard her say, "No way." I walked in and saw her staring at the shelf above my desk. Specifically, the rock. "Is that?" "Yep. You still have it." "Of course." She picked it up carefully. For a moment, she just stared at it. Then she laughed. "I can't believe you kept this." That's when I finally told her the full story. I explained what I'd overheard our parents saying before my birthday. I explained how hopeless everything felt back then. I explained how much her little party had meant to me. And I explained that every time I looked at that rock, it reminded me that the most valuable gifts aren't expensive. They're proof that somebody cares. By the time I finished talking, Emma was crying, which immediately made me start crying too. Then we both started laughing because 2 adults were standing in an apartment crying over a rock. To anyone else, it was worthless. To me, it represented one of the purest acts of kindness I've ever experienced. Not because it was impressive, not because it was expensive, but because it came from someone who loved me enough to remember a tiny detail about something I liked.